Perfect. We will go ahead and get started so we can make the most out of your time today. If at any point you can't see the screen, please let me know. So we were talking about smart and secure, recognizing scams early. And, who am I? I've been talking to you for a couple of minutes now if you joined us early. My name is Sadie Hammock. I am the Financial Education Assistant Manager here at Public Employees Federal Credit Union. And our financial education program is called Financially Fresh. So that's why on here you'll see it say Financially Fresh with PEFQ because it's part of the credit union. We're talking about the current financial scams and what to look out for. And then we are here because Mr. George had a vision. So, like everyone knows, Mr. George started Publix supermarkets. But if you didn't know, he also started the Publix Credit Union. He started the credit union in 1957 with other Publix supermarket leaders. And it was because he was very generous. We all know the stories. He was very generous. He was helping people out of his own pocket. And he said, "Hey, I'm happy to do this, but the line's out the door. I don't have time to help them and run Publix. So, how can we be more efficient and how can I actually reach all of my associates, especially as Publix was growing?" And so, some other store leaders came to him and they said, "Well, did you know that there's this thing called a credit union? And credit unions are specifically for a one community. So, our segment of the community is Publix associates. And that just means that we can have dedicated products and services and have dedicated time and resources specifically for Publix associates. So we are super happy to be living out Mr. George's vision in servicing Publix associates who spend so hard and such a long time serving their customers as well. So we understand that you value customer service, and that's why we're here for you as well to give you that same exceptional customer service. And through that is the benefit of Financially Fresh. So it goes along with Mr. George's vision of helping you live your best financial life. That's our tagline here at PESCU. That's exactly what we're here for. And there is financial education in that. So we have this incredibly thorough, free financial education platform. We'll share the resource with you at the end. You'll also get an email after this. It'll be tomorrow with a link to the recording as well with those resources and our Financially Fresh website for you to log in and learn more at your leisure. We'll talk about 30 minutes today, maybe a little less. Have some time for a Q&A and then share those resources. And of course, stop us at any time to ask questions in the chat. We are actively looking at that. Alrighty, so our content today is who is being targeted and why, common scams to look out for, warning signs a loved one is being scammed, and protective measures you can take. Before we get into the presentation, I have Skylar here too. So I've been mentioning him. It's just so natural to be like, yeah, I'm working with Skylar, duh. But I'd love for him to introduce himself. Go ahead, Skylar.
Yeah, no worries. So my name is Skylar. I've been with the credit union and Financially Fresh for going on a year this year. I've been in the industry for over a decade coming up next year. So I look forward to providing my experience and expertise and helping Sadie out with today's workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could truly value the expertise, especially because we're going to talk about some common scams that Skylar has actually seen working in the branches for so long. So he's going to have some firsthand knowledge to share with us today. So let's talk about who is being targeted and why. Seniors often have savings and good credit, and that is why they are targeted. Fraudsters know that seniors have this huge savings or a retirement fund that they're actively using, and so they feel like they can kind of wiggle their way in there and use it as well. Seniors are also less tech savvy and more trusting of people who are trying to help them, quote unquote, help them, because, scammers and fraudsters just pretend. And then sometimes seniors are isolated, which increases vulnerability to these scams. And we mentioned seniors, but there's all sorts of scams out there that don't just affect seniors. We'll talk a little bit about scholarship scams today, and that one affects new college students who are also isolated, a little more lonely, living away from home for the first time, and a little more susceptible to some of these scams that feel really urgent and are trying to get them to answer something quickly. And so they think, oh, well, I'm an adult now. I should be able to make these decisions. Click the button, transfer the funds, did it. Oh, wait a second. I wasn't supposed to do that. But that's also what scammers are banking on, is people having that sense of urgency, whether you're a new college student, college graduate, whether you're a senior, or whether you're just going about your day, living your life, and they're like, setting off an alarm through text message or email. That we'll go over those scams today too, that says, please act now or you'll miss out on these benefits. But understanding why people are targeted and how helps families stay alert and active. And awareness is always the first line of defense. So that's going to be your best way to combat scammers and fraudsters. Um, Before we get into some common scams, do you guys have any that you want to share with us in the chat? So we talked about the scholarship scam. Well, I kind of just mentioned the name. I'll put another one in the chat. We have romance scams we'll talk about. Have you guys seen any others? Maybe a text message scam, government scam? Yes, absolutely. We're going to talk about that one today too. We have seen that one quite a bit in the credit union space. And I say credit union because we're a credit union, but all financial institutions are impacted by scammers and fraudsters. So all scams in general, that is completely right. We've seen a lot of them. They've been ramping up in the last 5 years as well because we're so online all the time. Everything's at your fingertips, and fraudsters know it, so they try to take advantage. So let's talk about the tech support impersonator scam. This starts with usually a pop-up or a phone call claiming your computer has a virus. The scammer pressures the victim to grant remote access, which allows them to steal personal data or install malware. They often demand payment for repairs. I use quotation marks there too, because they're not really repairing anything. They're the ones who broke it in the first place usually. But they ask you for gift cards or even wire transfers to make this repair, or to give you your data back, or just whatever they're telling you. They're always like, give me a gift card, give me a gift card. What are the last four digits on the gift card? I'm sure you guys have seen that. So that's normally, they do gift cards and wire transfers because they're harder to trace than if you're just transferring out of your account normally. So it's harder for government agencies, financial institutions to follow the money if it's done through gift cards and wire transfers. Please know that is a huge red flag, is if someone's asking you to pay them in a gift card. Let's talk about that IRS impersonator scam. So someone mentioned the government scam. This is a really big one. This often involves the callers pretending to be from the IRS or another government agency, sometimes the sheriff's office even. They claim you owe taxes or fees, and then they threaten arrest or even legal action if you don't pay immediately. Scammers often use the caller ID spoofing as well. I'm sure you guys have seen that. I have fallen for it a couple of times with like hitting accept because it's 863 number. So you guys in Lakeland, that's like Lakeland area code. I'm originally from Tampa, so it's hard for me to remember the Lakeland one, but Tampa too is the 813 number. I always answer from 813. I figure it's probably someone I know, or my grandma's calling me from someone else's phone. It's almost never someone I know. There's just caller ID spoofing. Some red flags there for you to know to hang up immediately without even listening to them is if there's a dial tone on the other side, you can just hang up. If there's a long pause after you say hello, as if like an automatic recording is starting, and then if they say hello, it sounds just a little too like automation, then that's also a red flag and you can hang up. This happens pretty often. So, we're going to say it quite a few times in this presentation, but don't think it can't happen to you. We talk about seniors and new college students, but scams affect everyone, no matter your age or no matter where you are in your life, and don't think it can't happen to you. I do have a number on here to report scams to the IRS, especially if it's an IRS scam. What I will say is IRS does not call you, they mail you. They use snail mail. They have no sense of urgency, like someone impersonating the IRS does. They send you things through the mail. They are not calling. Next, we'll talk about romance scams. These are the hardest ones to talk about and to deal with. Romance scams often start on social media or dating sites. Scammers create fake profiles and build emotional connections over weeks or months. And then once the trust is established, they fabricate emergencies like medical bills or travel costs, and then they ask for money to cover all of those things. Seniors are particularly vulnerable due to isolation and desire for companionship. But again, don't think it can't happen to you. As an example of this, my husband and I have been together for about 10 years now, but I did meet him on a dating app. And I know, whoa, crazy, but that's just the times we're living in. We have been for 10 years now. Very normal. What I will say is how I knew he wasn't trying to scam me, although my husband loves to joke that he's in it for the long con, that, when we're 85, he'll pull out the rug and say, haha, I was only in it for the money. I tell him it's fine. I got a lot of money throughout the years too. But something that, I made sure when we first started, getting together and talking was he never set off any red flags of asking for my social security number. He never asked me to send him money or anything like that. So that's always something to look out for as well, is if you are texting someone you met on a dating app for like a week and you're like, all right, I think I'm ready to go on a date now. Totally fine, totally normal, right? Until they ask for that social security number. They're like, oh, I just want to do a background check on you. I don't think so. You don't need that for a background check. There's plenty of stuff on social media. But I say my funny life story to tell you that it is very normal to kind of find that online. It's just please be careful, especially because scammers like to exploit that loneliness and that emotional vulnerability. I know, Skylar, you've seen this a little bit in the branches, correct?
A lot more than you'd believe. Typically, we deal with this in the branch level, anywhere from like once a month to maybe once every other month. Um, we hear it all the time. I met this person online. We've been talking for weeks, and now our lovely conversations kind of turn, sad and dreary. Um, and for that reason, I want to send them $15,000 to help them out. And this way, everything will go back to normal. And they said if I send a couple more thousand, they'll even come visit me. These scammers build such a facade relationship that you forget that this hard-earned savings is for your possible emergency in the future. Therefore, like you said, exploiting loneliness a person might have.
Yeah,
It's not always
absolutely.
big. Yeah, one member I helped in the past actually said that she had started dating Morgan Wallen. Yes, a country
Hmm.
singer. She met it on Facebook, and he said if I sent him $1,000, he'll stop by my house and hang out before the concert she was going to. Yeah, I looked it up. His net worth is still $35 million. So what I'm trying to say is he doesn't need your money, whereas you will in the future.
Absolutely. I'm not giving Morgan Wallen any money. It sounds like he's got a lot of his own. But it's very real. People make connections again through Facebook, through social media. So it's important to spot those red flags. We can talk a little bit more about this scholarship scam. So I mentioned it a little earlier. Now I haven't been in college for a little while now, or a new college student, I should say. It took me a while to get through college, but the scholarship scams were really prevalent when people are applying for college for the first time, or even applying to graduate school, because that's a whole beast of its own, and more you have to pay for. Typically, a scholarship scam promises guaranteed scholarships for a fee. So they say, send me $200 and I'll send you a $5,000 scholarship. That puts a good dent in what you're trying to do going to college. So people will send 200 bucks and then they never get their 5,000. Or they say, send me 200 bucks and your account information because I'm going to wire transfer this to you. And now they have your account information and they actually take money out for you, which is also not something that we want. So they really prey off of that sense of urgency for the scholarship scam, because when you're going through that process, there's always a deadline. So it's very normal to see that deadline, but for them, it is right now, right now, right now. And they really say, like, in the next 24 hours, or we'll give it away to someone else. And then it's that fear, that FOMO, especially for new college students. Nobody likes to experience FOMO. So, they're kind of preying off of those feelings. And that is something common you'll see through a lot of scams, is that sense of urgency. This bank impersonator scam. So it kind of goes along with that government scam someone mentioned in the chat, or all scams in general. This is something we see a lot of right now. You might actually see sometimes where a financial institution will say, hey, please be aware of this scam where people are impersonating your bank. Please know that your bank is never going to call you and ask for personal information. You need to call them to figure something out. They're not going to call you. The bank impersonator scam is when a scammer typically poses as the banker or credit union employee to create trust. They'll even say, like, maybe the first couple digits of your member number. And the next thing you know, you're giving them the rest of it, and also your PIN and your password, and then the money's gone. Sometimes they contact through text, calls, or emails that look really official. So I'm sure you've seen actual official text messages. So one that I get from PEFQ Banking here does say, hey, Sadie, did you approve this $65 purchase in Canadian dollars? Yes, actually, I did. That is a true story. I was buying art on Etsy, and they just so happened to be from Canada. So I was appreciative that my bank was double checking with me, but all they did was ask me yes or no, and to text back yes or no. They didn't ask me to click on a link. They didn't ask me to log into anything, give them a password. And that's going to be the red flags, as if they ask for member information through text or even email. And then on here, we do have those common requests of the passcode, the pins, or moving money. Skylar, I know that you mentioned we have a almost like a password protection thing here. What was that called again?
Yes. So at PEFQ, we do offer code words. It's kind of like your extra line of security. So you can set it up as a word or a phrase. But this way, if PEFQ does ever call you, you have that reassurance that I am directly speaking with the bank. And at this point, I don't have to give them anything else. Typically, that's going to be the first question when we call you is, hey, what's your code word? Not, hey, what's your social? Hey, what's your date of birth? Because only we know and you know what that code
Mhm.
word is.
Yeah. And that's a lot harder for scammers to get as well, because your PIN typically is a 4 digit to 7 digit number that you're probably recycling with a lot of other places. So they could have picked it up somewhere else. Whereas a code word can be a phrase. So, she sells seashells by the seashore is always a good one. Um, and then I we'll get into password protection too in a little bit, but that's always a good one too. But don't use it now that I've said it. Alrighty. We'll talk about our last scam today before we kind of wrap up with some warning signs of scams. If you or a loved one is being scammed and you're not sure, we'll go through those warning signs. And then we'll also do, what to do if you have been scammed or if you know a loved one has been scammed. So for this very last scam, it is the delivery text or email scams. So, I mean, we can't raise our hands, but if you guys want to put a thumbs up in the chat, who shops at Amazon? Like, it doesn't even have to be Amazon. Like, who shops online at all and has gotten a delivery text message? It doesn't even have to be that it was delivered late or a real problem or anything like that. It could just be text message. Absolutely. So I do see a couple of thumbs up because I definitely have. It's very normal these days. You order online, you get it delivered directly to your home. Super convenient. Nothing wrong with it. But we have been seeing a lot of fake delivery text messages. So it'll say USPS and it will give a link that says, please log in. There's an issue with your delivery. And sometimes when you click on that link, it'll take you somewhere to maybe even a real Amazon website. And I say real very loosely with my very perfect quotation marks, where it looks like the Amazon site, but it's not. And typically you can tell because in the URL at the top, it'll say Amazon, but maybe there's a second Z, or maybe it's like .to or .ie instead of .com. Sometimes or .gov, .org, anything like that. Sometimes it's just a little difference in the URL means that it's not the real site. And so when you log in with your real password for Amazon and your real username, they can actually steal that information on their fake site. They'll log into your real Amazon account and start purchasing things for you. And it's usually big ticket items like electronics or even e-gift cards, and they'll wipe out your account and then apply for an Amazon credit card in your name. So we give you this example to say, please be wary of these text messages and sometimes their emails too. If you're like, hey, actually, it's pretty normal that I'm expecting an Amazon package, but instead of following this link in the text message, I'm going to go to my app. I'm going to go to the web browser and I'm going to check on it. Oh, it's fine. Or, oh, I actually didn't even order anything. Perfect. Just delete the text, report it as spam. The smartphones will do that too. So you'll get less and less of them. But those are just some red flags.
Yes, like you said, everyone sees these types of scams. As a matter of fact, today I actually just got a text from a spam number, and it said, "Hey, you're, past due on some payment, and now your driver's license is getting canceled." Bear in mind, my driver's license that's getting canceled is back in Nevada. So I was like, okay, a little scary. Don't want to get arrested in Florida. So I actually just called the Nevada DMV and he's like, yeah, we don't text you. That's definitely a scam. And, just for my reassurance, I'm like, can you just
Yeah.
check my record, make sure everything's on the up and up? Like, but yeah,
Any
sure.
warrants?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. I don't want to mess with Grady Judd here. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's perfectly fine to go and call the DMV and to double check those things. Call the sheriff's office non-emergency number if you get a text that says there's a missed parking ticket. That's perfectly normal, and that's how you find out if it's real and how you double check. So, let's do a really quick um activity before we wrap up. Can you guys spot the scam? So there are a couple of key words in here that we've mentioned throughout the presentation that are red flags. If you don't mind typing those in the chat and letting us know some things you find as red flags. So I did put one in there, the word urgent, red flag. Yep, someone else too. I didn't mean to take your answer. Anything else that looks a little fishy in here? I know it always takes a minute for people to type them out too. 24 hours. And dear customer, I'm glad that people have picked that up. They did it in our 8 a.m. presentation too. It Dear customer is just not something you do when you're trying to create good customer service. Anything you order online too, they want you to keep ordering. So they're going to say, Dear Sadie or Dear Skylar. So that's a really good one. There's also the suspicious link on there. And then someone put in there fees and the immediate sense of urgency. You are correct. So not only did they make it urgent, they also threatened you. They said, hey, there's going to be some fees on here, so you better watch out. Click this link now. I'm glad none of us here are falling for this. So some warning signs to get into now that we've gone through that little activity. Some warning signs if you feel like you or a loved one or even a friend who's been, acting kind of weird lately. Some warning signs that they could be scammed or being taken advantage of by a fraudster is a sudden secrecy about their finances. So if your friend's always talking about her budget and all of a sudden she's not, maybe that's a red flag. Usually the people withdraw transfers. They withdraw money or make large transfers. So, my grandmother's 80 something years old. She doesn't touch her finances a lot. She's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if she was making big transfers and she was asking me, hey, Sadie, how do I wire transfer someone? I say, I don't know, Nana. I think we should talk about that. Tell me who you're transferring that to. That would be a red flag for me. There's also increased anxiety or fearfulness. So, if a loved one is just being a little more secretive or they seem anxious and they're having a hard time talking, that might be a red flag. And if there's any new friendships asking for money, so if my Nana calls and she says, "Hey Sadie, I made this friend in Michigan and they just want $15. Just $15, not a big deal. $15 is a gateway to 20, which is a gateway to 200 and 2,000. So that is always a red flag as these new friendships asking for money. Some protective measures you can take, though, is to monitor your accounts regularly, set transaction alerts and limits. Now, when you get these alerts from your bank, they are official. They just say, "Hey, Sadie, you got $50 left in your checking account. Maybe you should chill with the swiping." It doesn't say that, but it'll say $50 left, but it won't tell me to click on anything. It won't tell me to log in. So you can set those alerts so that if it does drop below 50, and I know I haven't touched anything, that's a red flag for me to go into my account and take a look. You can also enable multi-factor authentication. Sometimes I do not like having to get the code on my phone and then fill it in on the web browser, but it does make me feel good that my bank is asking me for that and they know that it's me. You can also freeze your credit if necessary and also diversify your passwords and change them periodically.
Yeah, I myself use all of these security measures. Specifically, I use freezing my credit. The last thing I want is all my hard work towards building a good credit score to drop because someone wants to, go loan out a Ferrari.
Hmm.
I say it all the time working in the institutions that it's a fine line between security and convenience. In some cases, you can't have both. And if I had the choice, I would prefer my accounts and money to be secure and inconvenient for my scammers if that ever does happen.
Absolutely. And I like how you worded that too. And there might be inconvenience there to go unlock your credit if you actually do want to apply for a new car, but much rather do that every so often than have it open all the time and someone take advantage. And so, what do you do if you have been scammed or if you've noticed that a friend has been scammed? First, stop all communication with the scammer immediately, please, and then document everything. So, your emails, texts, receipts, take screenshots, report numbers of if there's calls or anything like that, times of day. Report the scam to the FTC, local authorities, and your bank. So, what you can do is if you know you've been taken advantage of financially or a loved one has, go to their financial institution, talk it through with them. They actually work with the Secret Service for money laundering purposes, and they do investigate with the Secret Service. PEFQ specifically has an entire financial crimes unit so that we can see if you are being taken advantage of by a random fraudster or if it's part of a bigger money scheme. It's really cool. It's like CIS, but for money, or CSI, but for money. And they're really good at it. You can also freeze or monitor your accounts. We talked about that on the last slide. Change your passwords, do the multi-factor authentication, and then even consider identity theft protection services. So there are even some things out there for vets as well, specifically, where you can freeze your credit, but you can freeze it a specific way that says, hey, you're overseas or you're doing something specific. So it is just extra protection for yourself or your loved ones.
I agree, Sadie. And with everything that's listed here, the one thing I'm not seeing that's listed is, at the end of the day, if you do happen to get scammed, please don't be embarrassed. And don't wait. Treat this as if it's an emergency and get in contact with the bank, give us a call, come in. We want to treat this, at the utmost importance. I've had many members in the past say that, oh, didn't want to do this as soon as I could, and I just postponed this for weeks. And that gives the scammers more time to scam you more and give you more headaches in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. That is actually our last presentation slide of the day. I have just like Financially Fresh, our program in general, just so you guys can see our cool graphic. And in the chat, Skylar, if you don't mind typing out financiallyfresh.pefq.com, there's all sorts of really cool things on there when it comes to finding out more about scams, but also budgeting, general financial education, credit monitoring, debt consolidation. There's all sorts of information on there, and there is a legitimate scholarship search on there. So if you do have a new college student and you are concerned about that, they can always go there to find more information. Um, Thank you guys for letting us steal a couple extra minutes of your time. We do greatly appreciate that. And thank you for being here with us today. This is a super cool presentation for us to do because we have so much knowledge. And it's nice to present to a whole new group of people. I do see names on here I haven't seen before. So thank you for joining us today. And we've got one more presentation at 8 p.m. So if you want a repeat of the exact same thing, same people talking, we'll be here for you. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.